I hope we gross the kids out. Hey Credos, I'm here with my husband Sam, and today we're going to do a little Q&A, very short Q&A, for our 39th anniversary, which is today. And it's going to be quick because we're hungry. We want to go out for our dinner. So we have a few questions. We have not reviewed them. We are not prepared. So this will be impromptu, and we're going to answer the questions. And maybe you can have a very long and happy marriage as well. You ready?
Yeah.
I hope so. And we might have different versions of the same question, right? Where did you meet?
We met at BYU while we were both students there. We happened to live in the same apartment complex, and we went to the same church congregation, so there were multiple opportunities to meet. I don't remember exactly the very first meeting.
Okay, let me explain the first meeting. He knows this. So here's the first actual meeting. Each male apartment in the complex was matched up with a female apartment. And it was a secret. No one was supposed to know who was matched with whom. But on a night of a special church activity, the male apartment was supposed to go to the female apartment and pick up the girls. And it was a secret so that people couldn't back out. Like, oh, they're not very cute, I'm not gonna go. So no one was supposed to know who they were matched up with until the night of the event. And at the time, I was performing in a musical called Brigadoon, and I was Fiona. And so I couldn't go to the party, and I was really bummed. But I still wanted to see who was matched up with our apartment. So I actually did HMU at home, got all ready for the show at home, just so I could be there when the guys showed up. So there's a knock at our door at the apartment, and these young men came into our apartment, and they all had paper bags on their heads with the eyes cut out. Was it Unknown Comic?
Yeah, the Unknown Comic.
They were being the Unknown Comic. If you're old, you know who that is. They came in and they were standing there, and I was about ready to go to the show, but I came out and I said, well, what? I don't understand. What's the deal? And one of them said, well, you're not supposed to know who we are. And I said, well, we're not supposed to know who you are until now. But they decided to leave the bags on their heads. So I left for the show, not knowing who they were. They were young men who had paper bags on their heads. After the show was over, I drove as fast as I could to the church where they were having a dance at the end of the party. And I saw one of my roommates, and I said, so who was it who came to our house? Who were the guys? And Sam was out dancing with some dumb chick. And and she said, well, that's one of them. And I said, oh, he's cute. And he was a very good dancer. So that's the first time I saw his face. The first time he saw my face may have been when he came to the apartment with the bag. One of the activities was a service auction where each apartment could buy a service offered by a different apartment. And my roommates, before I got there, bought a party thrown by his apartment. So they owed us a party. So a few weeks later, they threw a party for my apartment, but I was still in the show, so I couldn't go to the party. But after the show, again, I came home still in my Fiona costume and ran over to the party just to see who was there and meet the guys. There was a guy who lived across the hall who had expressed a lot of interest in me and had been kind of flirting with me. And on the way to the party, he came out on his balcony and was talking to me and wanted me to come over and talk to him. And I said, well, I'm supposed to go to this party. It's for my apartment. And so I went over to the party, and they were playing Trivial Pursuit. I sat down in the room, and Sam was the only one I thought was really, maybe a possibility or cute or anything. And I just was looking, didn't even look my way, did not even notice me, nothing. And so after about maybe 20 minutes of the party, I left and went over to the other guy's apartment because he expressed no interest at all. Am I right? You don't remember?
Well, no, I remember. Yeah, but you were showing up in your drama outfit, so I wasn't sure that you were interested.
So he showed no interest. That's how he dealt with that. And another incident after this, but still before we were dating at all, is I went to church one day and I looked very cute. I had on my stilettos, and I was looking very cute. And I was walking down the hall, and we had church as students in classroom buildings. So I'm walking down the hall, and off to my left, there's a room with 6, 7 eligible young men. And I didn't realize they were there, and I walked right past the door, and then it caught my eye. I literally went out, and I was like, "Ooh, hi," because I was a little bit of a flirt. And I looked back in the room and I said hi, and I just kind of stood in the doorway and talked to these guys for maybe 5 minutes. And he was there, kind of sitting in the back of the room. To the best of my recollection, almost every guy in the room talked to me, flirted with me, except him. He just sat there, didn't say anything.
Let's just soften her up.
Nothing. So I talked, left, went to my class. And so that was our kind of initial introduction. I thought he was cute, but he expressed no interest at all.
Add a little intrigue.
So what is your age difference?
I'm 4 or 5 years older than Allison, depending on, because her birthday's in May and mine's in August.
We're always the same age apart. The age difference is always the same.
Yeah, but the numerical year.
So right now I'm 60. He turned 65 next week.
So I'm 64, and in a week I'll be 65.
So almost 5 years.
So she saved me from
special interest.
Old bachelorhood.
Yes. That's the next question. How old were you when you got married?
Oh, we're 8. Yeah, I was 25.
He was a week away from 26, right?
Yeah.
I was 21. So that's how old we were. 21, 25, on the edge of 26.
Yeah.
Right. How long did you know each other before you got married?
So we'd known each other for a while because of that being in the same apartment complex and stuff like that. But we actually never dated because, I didn't show enough interest back then. So, although I did call her apartment to ask
That's
her
another
out.
story. That's another story.
But, it never worked out. So I did show interest, and then
unbeknownst to me.
And then I moved away to a different apartment complex, and I don't know, I guess a year later, I bumped into her again on campus and asked her out. So the first time we went out was that year in February.
February 9th, 1985.
Yeah, so we'd known each other, or at least, sort of known each other for
almost
over
a year.
Yeah. But then we got married 6 months later to the day, August 9th.
Our first date to our wedding, 6 months. But we had known each other, but yeah.
Yeah. And she planned it that way,
I did. Should I tell that story? Just quickly, the story is I had these 2 guys who were my best friends. Shout out to Mark and Todd. I was at Todd's apartment. Mark and Todd and I were together at Todd's apartment one night talking, and I was dating a number of guys, and we'd only dated a handful of times.
Yeah.
We'd only dated 4 or 5 times, 3, 4 times. And I told Mark and Todd, I said, you guys, I'm getting married August 9th. And they said, to who? I said, to Sam. He said, but don't tell him, he doesn't know yet.
Yeah, so I had no choice. I had no chance.
But now that I had publicly or semi-publicly, privately revealed my designs, I had to make sure it came to fruition, right? And it did. But when you know, you know. So I'll follow up with the story about the dating. So we got engaged in end of May of 85. And on the 4th of July, which was a month before our wedding, we were on his balcony watching fireworks at his apartment. And he had a little black book, because this was the 80s. He had an actual little black book. And I was just kind of looking through the little black book. And my name's in there. Of course my name's in there because he's my fiance, right? This is back before cell phones, okay? This is landline times. I realized that the phone number in the little black book is the phone number from the Elms, where we met, but where I no longer lived and hadn't lived there the whole time we were dating. I moved out of the Elms in September. So I was like, why do you have my phone number at the Elms? And that's when I found out then that the summer before, when I still lived at the Elms, he had called my apartment 3 times and tried to talk to me to ask me out. I didn't answer the phone. I wasn't home. And my roommate, who took a message, never told me that he called. So after the 3rd try, 3 strikes you're out. He just gave up and didn't call back. I'm sure it was Rhonda. Rhonda hated men. More accurately, she hated when her roommates dated guys. But he didn't tell me that he had tried to ask me out months before. But I was kind of dating the guy that summer anyway, so it probably worked out the way it should have.
Yeah.
How many siblings do each of you have? This is actually more complicated than it should be, but you go.
Well, I have 4 living siblings, and I have another sister who died when she was 19 months old. So it's a total of 5 siblings.
So I have 3 siblings, and I'm adopted. My oldest brother's adopted. My sister is not adopted. She's the weirdo bio child. And I have another brother who was adopted, but he was adopted as an older adoptee, and he only lived with us for about 6 years. And then he chose to go back with his bio dad. So that's kind of a complicated story. I haven't seen him in a long time, but legally, I think I still have 3 siblings, but only 2 that I really grew up with. How many kids do you have?
We have 6.
So there's no dispute about that. No other stories, just that single story. We also have one son-in-law who's amazing. Might as well be a son, we adore him. And 2 grandbabies right now. What's your favorite thing to do together? Okay, we're not gonna
answer that.
Okay, well, the second favorite thing to do together.
Okay. Well, we do like to go do things like go out to eat, go see things. We have electric bikes, so we go biking together sometimes. We recently went to the top, travel, went to the top of the Alps. And
just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, did some sightseeing, did some other things like that. We like to talk about different things.
But we've done zip lines and ropes courses, and we like to do kind of fun adventurous stuff sometimes. We do like to talk. You had just started to say that.
Yeah.
We like to talk a lot. He likes to talk more in the morning, and I like to talk more at night. We have long, good conversations. We have a lot to talk about. What do you like best about the other person?
I like the fact that she's really smart. Aside from the fact that she's good looking and all of that other stuff, I didn't want to marry a lump, and I told her that. So.
I didn't want to marry a lump. You didn't say that.
So I dated girls that were really good looking and attractive, but just weren't all that interesting to talk to.
So what do I like? It's funny because what I was initially attracted to and what I like long term is not, there's crossover, but it's not the same. There were some basic things, like he is a good, godly man. He is honest, and we enjoyed each other's company. I always joke that my criteria was that he was a good kisser and a sexy dancer. Both true, but not necessarily a long-term relationship plan. But he also had those other foundational things to me. We both had similar beliefs. We had kind of similar desires going forward for the most part. I remember being pregnant with our oldest daughter, and I was really, really sick. It was then when I was super sick and disgusting. I was in my last semesters of college before I graduated, and it was a really rough time. And that's when I realized, oh my goodness, like, I don't really care if he's a sexy dancer right now. It really is not. It's not even on the radar. And that's when I was like, I'm so lucky that he is the kind of person that he is, which I didn't look carefully enough for. I just got really lucky because he has those qualities that have blessed my life so much. I don't pretend I was smart enough to really discern all that or think that much about it, because you're a hormonal young kid, and it's also romantic and exciting, and And I think maybe those foundational things, though, that I looked for carried over into his character. So we also have a lot of fun together, enjoy each other. Like, he's my best friend. He really is. He's a good man. The character is carried through more than any of the other stuff, but the other stuff is still there. We still are like madly in love with each other, but we're not going to do anything about that on screen. So that would be inappropriate. What are your funniest memories? There are a billion of them, but they will only like come to mind when a certain thing reminds me of them. And I'll be like, oh, do you remember?
Well, I thought of one.
Okay.
So we were invited to speak in church. We prepared our talks and everything, and we were running a little bit late.
You have to also understand, I was just like I am now. I was the music director, so we were newlyweds.
Yeah.
I directed the music at church.
But anyway, we're like rushing to church. We know that there's like a song and a prayer and some other stuff like that, you know. And we're just, you know, and then they do sacrament stuff like that. So the speakers don't speak till further into the program. So we were really worried that we were late, but we figured, you know, we still got there in time before we were supposed to speak. So we actually walked up on the stand, and we thought that they were doing the opening song because they were singing when we walked in. So we figured, oh, we're not too late. We missed opening prayer.
The opening prayer's after.
Yeah, opening prayer. But we just got there during the opening song. We sat down, and then somebody stood up and said a prayer, but something was not right about the prayer.
Also, the snickering in the audience.
Yes, people were snickering. And that was the closing song and the closing prayer. And we had missed our talks because it was daylight savings. And so we were an hour off. So we
were an hour late.
We were an hour late. So we walked up on the stand.
After they had already covered for us.
Yeah, somebody had to cover because we didn't show up. And so they had to have somebody speak instead of us, all of that. And we still, you know.
And we just marched up there and sat down all proud and happy.
Yeah. So that was pretty embarrassing.
It's only funny. It was only funny later.
Yeah.
I wanted to be swallowed up into the earth. It was during the prayer that I realized, because of something that the person said. Yeah. And I realized something was wrong and we had missed it. And yeah, it's funny now though.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of funny memories, and a lot of them involve the kids. And a lot of them, if you tried to explain them, they wouldn't even be that funny. They're funny in context, or they're in jokes. We lived in Florida for 10 years, and we had annual passes to Disney, as you do when you live in Florida. One day we went to Orlando, and it began pouring rain. But it's Florida. This is a regular thing. And we had at least 3 kids then, right?
Yeah.
I know we had 2 kids in a stroller, so 3 or 4 kids. It started to pour just as we pulled into the parking lot. And this is about midday, because since we had annuals, we didn't feel like we had to be there first thing in the morning. But we pulled into the parking lot, and people are pouring out of the park, just rushing out of the park to get to their cars. And we get out, and we put our ponchos on, and we're running in against all the traffic, and it's pouring. And we're getting soaked, and we kept yelling things about a quest for fun, like Wally World, like we're gonna go no matter what, you can't stop us.
Yeah, because everybody's leaving, so now there's no lines for the rides. Yeah.
Soaked to the skin, but we had our ponchos, so we were good.
Yeah.
But it's still a funny memory, like running through if you've been in a Florida rain, it's a monsoon, but it was great. It was fun. It's not really funny, but it was fun. A fun memory. So this is an interesting one. I haven't thought about it. What is the best compliment you heard about your spouse from someone else that meant a lot to you? I don't have like a specific instance. There's just a thing that regularly happens to me, and that is that other people will say kind things or complimentary things about Sam. It usually is in the context of he has given a presentation, or he's given a lesson, or he's taught a class, or he's done a conference. But I'll get things like, your husband is a genius, you know that? And I'm like, yes, I do. I actually didn't know that when we got married, but yes, I know he is.
Yeah, it was. She was blinded by my
dancing,
by the bag on my head.
By your sexy dancing. A couple of weeks ago, he taught a class at church for the men. I wasn't in there, And as I walked out of the women's class, a man in our congregation came and said to me, "You did well." I was like, yeah, I did. I know. Say something really nice about me.
Yeah, so Allison, as you know, since this is the Midlife Credo blog, has been a long time social media maven. Well, okay, here's a funny story.
Okay. This isn't the funny story part.
And I know, but it sets up the compliment.
Okay.
So I was
Combo.
I'm an engineer, electrical engineer, always been into technology, want to get the latest and greatest technology. So we're married. Apple just had come out with the Macintosh computers, and I'd seen them, and it was like, oh, I really wanted to have one, right? And so, but we were poor students, and they're kind of pricey, and I was trying to figure out how could we, swing that. So I made a deal with her.
Okay, we had been married like 2 weeks.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, but we got married in August, and the semester started, and that's when all the, you got to get all the stuff, right? The start of the semester. Right, I'm a graduate student, right? Because we got married just as I was starting graduate school. So that's like important, right? So we made a deal. Money I spent on software and computer stuff, she could spend on clothes, right? So that
be fair.
It would be fair. So I don't
fair
just
distribution of wealth.
Spend all of our every dime we have on just myself, right? The thing is that because I got a Macintosh, it was actually fairly easy to use because she had taken a class in information technology where she learned how on a PC to use WordPerfect and
Lotus 123.
And she complained every day. Every day she went to that class, she complained about she did well in the class. She worked on campus several times using those skills, but she complained about it. So I didn't want her to complain about this. So I gently introduced her to all the fun stuff you could do on a Macintosh.
Like select text and bold.
Yes. And
Command B instead of code.
Well, but it was easy to use the computer. So after a while, she forgot about the deal about buying clothes because she was also interested in buying more software. So I sort of won out in that. But because we had the computer and she got good at using the computer, and in fact, she wrote an app in HyperCard and demoed it for a church history event that they had, and she got recognized, and the prophet of the church was there and recognized her for her work, and so she sort of slides under the radar sometimes, but I often get compliments from people who will say things like, I'm really so glad your wife spoke up about that. I mean, she's so courageous and she's willing to defend things. So she's always the person that other people look up to, especially in social media, to call a spade and fight for the right. So
that's very nice. Thank you, my genius husband. It's not a question on here, but I actually think this is important. I'm dismayed at the state of dating in our culture right now. One of those things is the absolute demonizing of men. Everything male and men being put down for literally everything. The expectations women have for men and what they demand of men. But at the same time, if the men do the things that they say they want, they're in trouble for that too. And there's just something I want to point out. So we were married pretty young, like in today's terms. When we got married, I knew he was intelligent. I knew we could have great conversations. Neither of us knew exactly what we were going to do in the future. At the time we got married, he was in an integrated master's program for electrical engineering. Neither of us knew that he was going to continue to get a PhD or where that would take him. We were poor, struggling students. Like I said, I knew he was intelligent and good and kind and loyal and decent, but I didn't know he'd be successful. I didn't know what would happen, and neither did he. We basically made a bet on each other. Like, here's the foundational stuff, and then let's go do this together. Let's move forward together. If I had had an expectation that I'm looking for a man in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. Because he does not have a trust fund. He put himself through college. And like I said, we were very, very poor and struggling. I graduated 2 weeks after giving birth to our first child. And we had 2 kids before he was done with graduate school. And we were poor. And it was fine because we were on the same page and we were working together and we were going to make things work together. So this expectation that everything needs to be a certain way before you get married or before you have a family, I think it worked better for us than it does for most of these young people today. So look for the foundation. That's my big advice. Like I don't usually give marriage advice. Look for the foundation because that's what you build on. It's not, we're starting up here and we're awesome. What's your groundwork like? What are your goals moving forward?
Stay healthy and not die.
Don't die. I proudly tell people my age, I don't care. I've never cared. I've never been like, I'm 60. I just turned 60 last May. Like either you get older or you die. So it's just a passage of time. It's just the significance of the passage of time. Anything else besides don't die?
Try to fix the broken internet.
He wants to fix the broken internet. And it's funny, the person who asked this question was actually Kristen Chevrier.
Oh, okay.
And after she asked this question, she left an addendum and she said, it better be to explode Carrie and save the world or something. Yeah. And he wants to fix the broken internet and reputation and identity. And he is a genius, and watch him go. Security. And he will.
Win the cybercrime war.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question. What are your goals moving forward? I have kind of a mantra. I'm not going to explain it in this video because it's kind of personal and it's kind of too long and it's off topic. But it can be summarized in 3 words. Holy, healthy, happy. I want to have a purpose that means doing something good. That probably sounds cliche, like I want to leave a legacy, da da da. I guess that's part of it, but I think mostly it's that I want to use the rest of my time, and hopefully it's a while, to do good and not to do harm. Serve God, do good.
So very commendable objectives.
Thank you. Thank you. I think next year on our 40th anniversary, we'll do some big, more planned out thing. This was kind of impromptu.
Yeah.
If you have any questions that you would ask us or anybody else who's been married for multiple decades and that still loves each other, please put them in the comments because that'd be fun to collect those over the next year and compile a really good list. Parting words.
The stuff you can't talk about matters.
As well as the stuff you can.
Yes.
Lots of stuff matters.
Yes.
I love this man. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and ring that notification bell. You can also follow along on Instagram at Midlife Credo. And join us in the Midlife Tribe on Facebook too, where we're thriving midlife without the crisis, but with lots of love. Bye.
Bye.